free at 3 for 2021. Let's get to it, shall we? Yep, still coming in, still getting fills. Love it. All right, it is 2021. This is the first trading day, which happens to be also the 4th of the month because we started basically right at the first last Friday, which of course we would not trade on the 1st. And so for that reason, we are here for you today. So let's kick it off with this presentation on the 4th of January, 2021. I'm Jon Najarian. Disclaimer is that I am presenting this information for you and your edification, and that all investments involve risk. You cannot have an investment that does not have risk. So for that reason, please perhaps decide, perhaps consult with a investment professional prior to following any of the trades that I myself have done. As far as intellectual property rights, yes, we have patents, trademarks, we have registered marks as well as copyright on virtually everything you're about to see. So before you use any of it, please ask us, and then we'll gladly grant you that permission so long as you cite Market Rebellion as the source of this information. Thank you. Unusual activity. So Pete got it in 44 seconds today. Wow! They were able to give him 44 whole seconds. And that's before you deduct that, what would it be? Probably 8 or 9 seconds when he and Scott kind of banter back and forth and say, Pete, what do you got for unusual activity today? You guys get the idea. In other words, it must have been a pretty packed show because they had all of 44 seconds for unusual activity. But let's cite some of it. One of them was Taiwan Semiconductor, TSM. This is one that we have hit it and hit it and hit it in 2020. Now, we're certainly hoping that it continues in 2021. They were buying the January 125 calls. These calls expire in just a couple weeks, so it's on that very rapid decay curve. You guys that are familiar with it know what I'm talking about. Time decay is something that's very rough for the option owner because every day that goes by, it's not a straight line like a future where the future just, the future price basically is how much does it cost to put it in storage? How much does that asset cost to tie up? Even if you're only talking about 0.25% interest rates or whatever. All of that goes into the futures calculation, and it is linear, the decay. Options are not linear. So for that reason, as we get closer and closer to expiration, they start decaying at a more rapid and more rapid pace. You want to learn more about it? Go to Market Rebellion. We can teach you. Anyway, 125 strike, that's $15 out of the money. If you're a regular viewer, you already know what I'm going to say. I didn't buy the 125 strike calls. I bought the 110s and sold the 115s, that kind of trade. Why do I do that? Because I like having a one-to-one spread in the final weeks of an option's life, especially because it addresses time, which is theta, time decay, and V, vega, volatility. I want to address both of those because they can both hurt me if I just follow whoever bought all of these calls. There is where the stock is just a little bit ago. As you see, as of 1:35 Eastern Time, it was up 112.16. So a little higher than where Pete was talking about it. Not quite $2, but a nice little pop. Another reason to be a subscriber, I suppose. Tony Dwyer is going to join us. Another great reason for you to at least sign up. If you're not a subscriber already, you can join us for Tony's presentation, his 2021 playbook. Tony did a fabulous job in 2020. His 2021 playbook, I have no doubt, will be equally fabulous. Wednesday, January 6th, 4 p.m. Eastern. That's right at the closing bell. Tony will join us. Make sure you tune in. Chief Market Strategist of Canaccord Genuity. Here's Pete's second trade today, which was Summit Materials. Now, you might imagine that a stock with the name Materials in it might have something to do with building and so forth, and you would be correct. So, Pete says, January 2250 calls. Buy, buy, buy. Look at that, 7,000 of them versus no trading hardly at all leading into this. So again, short time to be right. Also, time decay, volatility are going to be very much a factor or factors in this trade. So you need to address that. Summit Materials, when Pete talked about it, I guess it didn't show on that screen, but here it was up 2%. It was trading at the high of the day virtually, moving back to 2047 after being as low this morning as 1970. Bang, that's the second of our 3 at 3. Here's a company that my brother Pete and I are investors in. We are some of the first investors in Voyager. Voyager is a digital asset broker, commission-free, crypto made simple. Earn up to 9.5% interest on your crypto if you choose to keep it there. Wow. So they have over 50 digital assets, because crypto is not just Bitcoin. It's Ethereum, it's Litecoin, it's so many other coins, folks. Now, I'm not going to come out here and pound the table for all of those altcoins. I can pound the table for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I think many of these other coins are going to do very well in 2021 as well. And Voyager, which is a public company, it trades in Canada, and it's got an over-the-counter version that trades here in the United States. We are, like I say, owners of that company, not the owners, but we own a stake in Voyager, and I love it. I think Steve Ehrlich and his team over there have built a fabulous way to trade crypto for no commission. So check it out. Voyager, it's an app. The desktop launches shortly. How about this one? The third of our 3 at 3 is CSTM. CSTM was a $14 stock when we saw 5,000, that is 500,000 share equivalent, trading at the 14 strike for February. Now that's an at the money. If you want to call it in the money, okay, it's 2 cents in the money. But it's an at the money call that they are buying. So this is the call that I am buying. I buy these calls. I start ratcheting higher strikes into it if the stock rallies. That's the way I trade it, because it's still, these final 2 months are the most rapid time decay. March, not worried as much. January, February, I am worried. That's why I hit time decay and Vega both by selling calls. So 5,000 of these calls, call it $750,000, bang, in there. I want to follow somebody who's dropping 750 large on a trade. That's the way I trade. Here it is, Constellium, CSTM, basically the same price. It had traded 14, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and now just under 14 at 13.98. That is our third of our 3 at 3. Now let's get to some of your questions. But first, marketrebellion.com/get started is where you can learn all about trading stock, all about trading options, all about trading cryptocurrencies and futures. All 4 of those right at marketrebellion.com/get started. You got remote learning where you can log on anytime, day or night, and you just type in your password and you go to it. Or you can also attend in live classes that we have, in updates from the instructors and so forth. All of that, coaches, mentors, the whole ball of wax at Market Rebellion. They can walk you through the entire process, folks. Thank you. Questions? Yep, these are people that address those questions to either me, at Jon Najarian, or at 3at3_UOA. Puts. All right, Jon Najarian, your put info a couple weeks ago saved my portfolio. Well, you're flattering me, Front Sunshine 96. You're flattering me, and I love to be flattered, but you saved your portfolio, I didn't. Perhaps the trigger that I cited, that unusual put buying, helped you not experience some of the pain that people experienced today with the market falling 700 points. At least that's where it was a little bit ago in the Dow Jones. NASDAQ and S&P all gave up the ghost early. people that didn't want to sell and take profits last year because they'd have to pay taxes. It's always a dumb idea not to, or rather to focus on just your taxes, because maybe you're selling those stocks a lot lower than what the tax man's bite might have been. But nonetheless, people do that all the time. And somebody was buying a lot of puts, which said to me that maybe with President-elect Biden saying the darkest days are ahead of us and so forth, whether it's Fauci or, I'm not giving President-elect Biden a hard time. I'm just saying, if that's what he's saying, if that's what Fauci's saying, if that's what all these health officials are saying, are we going to be able to look through that, you and I? Those of us with a long-term perspective will, but having those puts in our pocket helps make that drop that I expected, that I cited on Halftime Report as well, helps make that drop a little less painful, doesn't it? So thank you for that, Front Sunshine 96. GA, which is Georgia. Chris Vincentini says, hey, John, hello. How much of today's early midday sell-off is Georgia runoff tomorrow? And a happy New Year to you and yours. Happy New Year to you and yours too, Chris, and to all of you who are joining us here today. Please tell a friend, by the way, about Market Rebellion and the 3 at 3. I don't think it has much to do with the Georgia sell-off, because I don't think people really know where Georgia's going tomorrow. Is it going to flip and go blue? Is it going to stay red? If it stays red, I think that we are less likely to see nearly as much action on taxes, which I think the president incoming would like to jack up taxes. I don't think he'll have that opportunity, because the president can't just sign with his pen and make that happen. As you know from Schoolhouse Rock, it's got to go through the legislative process first. Could be disputed by the judicial side, but that's a different story. Obviously, we all know what happened with the Affordable Care Act. That's why I mention it. And then the president signs a bill into law. This is law. The IRS code is law. So if we see the red Perdue and Loeffler hold those seats, rather than giving them up to Warnock and or Ossoff on the blue side, I think that's a good thing for the market. So are we selling off because people think that Warnock and Ossoff are going to win? No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody really has that much clarity on who's going to win down there. And the Republicans are a slight advantage according to the polls. So certainly the polls aren't indicating that the Republicans are going to lose. So could today's downward thrust be more like those other catalysts that I described? That's what I believe. Thank you for asking, Chris. Plug. All right. This is from Brent Randolph 10 saying, wondering about Plug. I'm trying to figure out my next step. Bought it at 36. Now it has broken a 2-month trend. Thank you. I like Plug. I like many of these alternative energies. In other words, let's call it green, because whatever kind of battery it is, it's supposed to be green. I may be entering and going onto a board of an energy company shortly that is in the recycling of lithium batteries and so forth. I'll tell you more about that in the future. But I've been learning more and more about how some of these battery recycling people aren't really very green at all, even though they might find a way to repurpose some of the lithium. If you do like China does, which is they take all this lithium, put it into a big furnace, melt everything down, guess what goes up the stack? All kinds of bad chemicals, all kinds of plastics and rubber and everything else that might be associated with whatever that lithium battery was in previously. That's all really bad for the environment. That's not a green way of recycling. Company that I might be working with is in the green way of recycling. And that's not a plug, pun is intended for Plug, but Plug is one of these alternative energy sources that we focus on, and I'm certainly somebody who on dips will be buying this. I like several of them. I'll talk about more of them later in the week. GDX, all right. Did you see GDX Feb call? 17,000. You know you did. I know you did. Yes, I saw the calls. There's a lot of activity in here. Why wouldn't there be? There's not just Bitcoin that's the alternative to stocks and bonds. It's a great alternative, Bitcoin is, but so are a dozen other alternative assets on the digital side, and so is gold, so is silver. So am I surprised? No. And did I see it, Rich? Yes, I did. That's from King Richard 24K, which sounds like a gold bug, doesn't it? Thanks, Rich. FCX, speaking of people that take stuff out of the ground and do a little mining, Freeport, McMoran, are you still bullish FCX? Yes. It was up big on the opening only to fall back. True. You gotta, if you're trading, folks, or if you're in the final weeks of a trade, you've got to be very nimble. When you get a big opening, you don't just say, well, it's going to go to the, trees grow to the sky. I take my profits, as you know, when an option doubles, I take half off the table. And then what I do is I snug a put underneath. So let's give an example. Say I bought an option, Joel, for 75 cents, and it goes to $1.50. Bang, I'm out of half. 50% off, which means I've got all of my money off the table that I started with, but I still have that half of my position at $1.50. I'm going to still try to let that run. But what I do, Joel, is I snug a put underneath the market, probably at about $1.20. And that way, if the stock keeps running, I'll keep rolling that put up higher and higher underneath. So for instance, let's say on the winning side that it goes from $1.50 to $2. I'll snug that put up to $1.70 or $1.75 so that I know if we start falling back, I have the right to sell it at $1.75, and that's all profit. On the other hand, if it, after hitting $1.50 and I've got that 125 put on, it starts falling, it's down to $1.30 and touches $1.25, I'm out. I booked all that as profit, but I didn't let it retrace all the way back down to zero because that'd be a dumb way to trade. So on a double, I take off half. On 2X, I take off half. If it falls from that 75-cent entry to say 35 cents, I cut my losses. So I have a plan for losses, a plan for winners. I plan to have a lot more winners, and knock on wood, I usually do. All right, Market Rebellion 2021. Patrick Cannon says, I like that dog pick, Patrick. And he's Cannonballs 17. Cannot wait to work with Market Rebels in 2021. Amazing service, true professionals. Thank you. You're kind to say that, Patrick. I think when you see what AJ, what Ryan, what Brian, what all of our coaches, Chris Sikora and the mentors that we've got and everything else at Market Rebellion, I am confident you will still be a big fan going forward. So let's keep the discipline up, folks. We appreciate your support. Let's make it a fabulous 2021. To learn more about unusual option activity, go on over to marketrebellion.com/UOA. That is marketrebellion.com/UOA, where you can learn about how we have multiple trades a day, like a trade every 5 or 6 minutes, it seems, where we have another service that's one trade a day, where we have another service that's one trade a week. We've also got Pete's cash flow portfolio. Pete's picking the best stocks that are shrinking their share count through repurchase, as well as have a track record of increased dividend yield. He picks those based on the heat seeker. He follows those and keeps writing calls against that portfolio. Another great way to trade. Check it out at marketrebellion.com/UOA. And that's it for me today, folks. I hope you have a great day. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'll be on the halftime report, and I'll have 3 at 3 tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining me.